Dan, can you listen when we're on?
I can't hear the volume, but let me just see if I can turn that up.
You have to say that.
Yeah, it's all right.
Right there.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. We are going to solid waste.
Yes.
Rick has a business meeting he needs to get to.
It's been enough time with us.
The buck stops here.
That's right. You're gonna hang out in the woods and get very frustrated.
What page are we on?
We are on
Solid waste is 58.
There's no big changes, but the contract is up December 31st. It's out to bid right now. I'm not sure when we will have the results of that, but hopefully by December. No major changes. I just budgeted with the numbers that I had based on our tonnages, and there's really no surprises here. It's pretty level funded from the previous year.
There is a slight change, actually, from with the proposed cuts to get to zero. There's a 3,251 in general supplies.
Which is just paper and stuff.
I'm assuming it's just,
That's the trash bags and the recycle
yeah,
bins.
because, I mean, if you look at actuals. for last
3,000?
year, 3,250.
Same thing as we did.
Should we, I mean, I know it's a small amount,
Yep.
but if you look at actuals, we're nowhere near that 23, right?
That's why I was going with 30.
So what is our actual now? We're down to 20?
Yep.
We'll
'Cause-
move 5 over to road bait.
Yeah, your actuals are only, are less than 15.
You will see that, and just to caution you, I did hold off and place the order after the new budget. I was holding my breath on that order. It came in just in the, when I do an order that's like $9,000,
Yeah.
8,000, depending on the bag order. But I would have been more closer if I'd made the order and didn't hold off and wait, but I did cut it close, like I thought we were gonna run out.
Yeah. Councilor Branch.
Rick, what is the actual cost? Is that the MSW contract and recycling contract for the curbside pickup?
It's curbside and what goes on at the transfer station, Mike. It's both. The bulk of it is curbside.
Okay, so there's nothing in here that would actually tell us what the curbside expense is, correct?
The MSW is actually all curbside. Recycling, you would have to back out, I can give you a rough idea, Mike.
Well, if the MSW is strictly curbside, and we were under a 3 or 4 year contract, I know we renewed it in the middle due
Yes.
to the single stream recycling process there.
Did another 3.
I guess my question is, why the fluctuation in expenditures?
I just doing based off the tonnages. It's totally off the tonnage. The tonnage fluctuates.
Okay, so, I'm just trying to understand this. So the curbside pickup includes the pickup and the disposal,
That's correct.
okay, all right.
And there is fluctuation for fuel. There is fuel surcharges after a certain.
So we don't really know an exact dollar figure on what, for example, Best Buy charges just to send their truck and people into town.
I could break it down, I could break it out separately for you.
Okay, all
I
right.
could do that.
Okay, I'd just be curious
What
as,
the number is.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can,
that's-
I can do that.
okay, thanks.
Councilor Zink.
This is probably a bigger subject than we need for right now in budgets. However, I'd like to bring it up anyway. And that is, I've heard on a number of occasions that we are spending more to recycle than we are to regular trash.
That's correct.
So the concept that recycling somehow is a positive financial benefit to the community is incorrect.
In our case, it is.
Okay. So, and I'm not proposing we do this, but if we were to do, for example, what Lee does, and that is to have a transfer station where on Saturday mornings we all take our stuff up there and just dump it. And I'm not proposing we do it, but do you have any idea what the savings would be?
I do not, I ran some rough numbers, Al, if we were to kind of go to no curbside per se. There'd be initial costs to get set up. One good thing, back when I first looked at it, we had to have three-phase power, which would have to come in from quite a distance, we'd have to pay. They do make single-phase compactors now, so we could, it'd be a considerable savings. But I don't have good data for you to answer that question properly.
Just so folks will know, we're spending about $500,000 a year, $453,000 a year on solid waste. So it's a pretty sizable budget. I think it's, considering the tightness of our budget, it's worth, at least from my perspective, it's worth taking a look at if we were to follow the Lee model or something like that. Just a point of view.
I agree. I think we at least should investigate that, because given the tightness of our budget, given the fact that there's other fundamental things like road paving that we're robbing from, basically, in order to keep the budget low, or as low as possible, yet we haven't even questioned this, really. So I think it's actually a conversation we should be having. I think this is the right time to have it, too. Like, do we want to reinvestigate whether or not this is a service we want to continue to provide, or do we go on another model?
I think that the solid waste is one of the department areas that I want to look to see how we are budgeting. That this should be almost an enterprise fund, not a special fund as we call it, that the monies that go into it should cover the cost.
Yeah, there we go.
I know it won't be 100%, but we'd have to look at that, but it's, the amount for a bag, I'm assuming was supposed to offset a large portion of what the cost of collections were supposed to be. When it first came up, don't get me wrong, I understand that you don't want to have $12 garbage bags, but, we should be able to separate this from the operating budget to have the revenues go in, cover the cost for the collections.
Rick, you have something to say?
Quick question, Rick. On laborer,
Yes,
one part-time,
that's correct.
we do 2 days a week now?
We do the Saturday all day and Wednesdays 6 hours.
Same person?
Same person.
It's gonna be the same amount, same out?
Yeah.
He's not gonna be putting more hours in?
Nope.
What's he doing now? I'm sorry, he's working Saturday, 8 to...
He works Saturday, 7:30 to 4,
Okay.
and Wednesdays, we went to a summer winter hour program.
Yeah.
Try to educate people so they all can remember the dates. And it's 8 to 2 on Wednesdays in the wintertime, and in the summertime,
Okay.
it's gonna be 12 to 6.
Okay, I was thinking it was something new with the Wednesdays, but you've already got that calculated in here, okay.
Rick, I've heard two comments more than any other my time in the council. The first is, when is my tax rate going down? The second is, and I hear it almost as much, spring cleanup.
Spring cleanup.
And I see it not only not again this year, but in no projections going forward. And not having spring, we got rid of it last year, which was 2 years in a row. Now we're looking at not only this year, but nowhere out in the future, just not having spring cleanup.
I thought that was the decision made by the board to just, that's it, we're done with it. But I guess that could be a council decision.
That's what I was going to say. That's what we voted on, I believe, 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Because we
We
were
were doing
doing
flip.
off years.
Right.
And then Rick had anticipated that, every other year it would be an astronomical number, and it actually came in, I believe, lower than,
the tonnage came down.
right. So at that point, I believe that the council did recommend that we just do away with it.
And I guess I gotta ask for procedurally, spring cleanup, is that just putting brush on the side of the road, or is this
Everything.
getting rid of
Everything.
mattresses?
Everything.
Have we ever looked at the system of buying tickets?
We did.
Okay.
We did, and the issue with that was it didn't work with our program, per se, as
Okay.
far as our curbside pickup. Like Dover does that.
Right.
You're familiar with that.
Yeah.
You just, it wasn't going to work with our,
Because what Dover, you go to the clerk's office of Public Works, you buy a sticker, you tell them what you're gonna have, what it's gonna be, and then Public Works schedules somebody to come by and pick it up, and they deliver it to the transfer facility. So you don't have the scheduled spring cleanup. Don't get me wrong, but they don't take brush. Brush you'd have to bring on your own or figure a way to get rid of it. But larger items like mattresses and furniture seem to be the big ones, and you charge a good chunk of change to do it. It's like $50. So, I mean, that's something we could look at, but
I thought, Steve, Dover, everything went in with the trash. You put it out in your trash day and it went right in the
Not
hopper.
anymore.
They
I
do
know.
it separate from
Yeah.
that now? I got you.
yeah, it's you schedule Public Works people to go out and pick up things when they're out with like a 1 ton or something. I know, and Summersworth does the same. 'Cause you're not gonna get a stack of mattresses on one weekend. Well, actually, we're a college town. You may get a stack of mattresses on one weekend, but hey, that's
Only once a year.
You're right. Right.
It just, maybe it's something that we could look at
Yeah.
as you're looking at the whole
Revenues,
structure
yeah.
of solid waste and how we're organizing it, because it's a service that I think a lot of people actually appreciate. Councilor Zink?
You had mentioned, Steve, that we don't want $14 bags. But in essence, we're spending $14 a
Yeah.
bag. So I would prefer to see the person that's using the $14 bag maybe be more conservative in terms of what they use. Particularly so, I think Newfields is using our facility.
They do.
They should be having $14 bags.
Yeah.
We should not, I don't know if we are not, but we should not be subsidizing a $14 bag for Newfields, nor should we be subsidizing a $14 bag for any commercial enterprise that's using our landfill. So I don't know the answer, Rick, but we are spending $14 a bag. Maybe if we were, that would make us more conservative. My stuff would be going someplace else.
I can tell you in reference to Newfields, they do pay a fee contract to the town just to be able to use it. Then they pay when they do use it, and they rarely use it.
Okay.
So we have a very nice situation with
Okay.
Newfields, if you know
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Yep.
We don't ask non-water users. I'm a water user, but I don't have curbside pickup. So they're not subsidizing my water, but I'm subsidizing people's curbside pickup that are using it through my taxes, which we're hiding the actual cost.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with the idea of it becoming an enterprise fund.
Yep.
Where it's self-sufficient.
You can definitely look into it. That's gonna be a much larger project than for this budget. but
It's not like something we can decide in the next half hour. of
Yeah.
conversation.
But yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's a couple of them. I could tell you the other one would probably be recreation
I agree.
that we need to look at how we do that.
And being somewhat impatient, before we make the decision we're very willing to make the decision to cut the roadways in this budget. If we could step up the pace a little bit on this solid waste and recreation in this budget period.
Yes.
And I know that's a big task for you.
Yeah.
But it's a big task, it's an opportunity, I
Yeah.
would think.
Get something right. Any other questions on solid waste?
Thank you.
Rick,
Appreciate it.
good luck out there.
Would
Don't let Evan shoot you.
Would the council like to try to knock out all the smaller?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Start at the beginning. Town council.
Page number, please.
Page, council is on page 29. 29.
Thank you.
It's level funded.
This is all set by charter, correct? By the council,
I don't think salaries are set by charter. I think you set them.
Yeah, we set them.
we set them?
Oh. But there has to be one
I was
election.
thinking the other way. I was thinking down.
I
Ed.
believe there has to be one election in between, so, yes.
Councilor Zink.
I have a question, and I know our recording secretary is here, but I find it surprising in this day and age that, given the fact that we're videotaping, we are, have many records of what we do, that we have such extensive minutes written. And they're as, and I don't say this to be critical at all, but they're as good as the tapes are. And I know some of the other committees, I believe, have sought some alternatives to doing that. And I don't know, Steve, you do.
Yeah, the minutes are pretty much, they have to be a summary of the meeting. So you can't really pull back on, even though you may have DVDs now or online volumes, you still by law have to have those paper records. So you can't just say, conversation was had. You need to actually put some of that in there, and you can't refer them to go look at the DVD.
And with so many days, correct?
Right, and it has to be done with so many days. DVDs are not official records of meetings. The only official records of meetings are those minutes. Don't get me wrong, the courts are now saying, well, if there's a DVD, give it to me. But when we go, the official records are the minutes.
Is that with every committee?
That's everybody.
Yes, every
Yeah,
committee.
state law.
I mean, conservation.
Conservation,
planning,
every committee
so-
of this town needs to have minutes and be posted, and it has to be, those are the official
Does the same
records.
person do it?
No.
Much
I
like
wasn't sure if you.
what Councilor Wright, oh, go ahead.
I'm not sure that all of the committees within the town have a recording secretary at all of their meetings.
No, but if not, then they should be taking their own minutes and submitting them to the clerk.
I know the Veterans Committee does that. There's a
Right.
secretary that records.
Actually, I'm on the planning board and they do it, yeah.
Right, they have a
Diane.
person. Yeah, and I would say, there's some small committees that we need to remind them
Okay.
that they need to have minutes done.
By the way, you do a great job on the minutes. Oh, I wasn't.
Oh, yeah, get back
The,
I don't even know the guy.
Councilor Wright brought up something earlier, and this to me seems to be a similar, if the legislation, right now, if the RSA state we have to have something, and we do live in a day and age where technology has gotten us to a place where it seems a bit, again, they're great minutes, but maybe outdated, that we have full recordings, video of the meeting, and we still are required by law to have someone
Yep.
taking it. What do we have to do to help stir that to be legislation?
You need to go to the state legislature, but I will tell you that it took 15 years to acknowledge the fact that there's email communications, and by the time they acknowledge, and telephone communication, and by the time they acknowledged it, it was already out of date. Perfect example is that, you're not supposed to email each other, and we can't have, we're not supposed to be passing out information, email. You can't have consecutive emails. The legislature hasn't really addressed things like video conferencing in for meetings. The conference calling is still very antiquated for the way they're doing it, because you need the whole notion that you need to have a majority in the room versus it's still only focused on picking up the phone and calling versus other things. So I just want, yes, we should need to talk to the legislature, and yes, I can tell you the municipal association's trying to get that done. However, that's a long time. That moves at glacial speeds to get the right to know law updated.
Well, we still, I think, just because it's going to be hard or long, doesn't mean we should.
Oh,
talk about
absolutely.
legislators.
If I can borrow Al's knife for a sec. Speak recognition.
Yeah.
Software. I mean, it's out there. It's.
And I've tried that. The problem, there's two things, right? Money is if you want to get the speech recognition software that can determine which voices are speaking, that's money. If you go to Dragon software, everybody can speak, but you don't know who's speaking. So.
I still think that we should work with the legislators to try to get some bills introduced that allow video recordings to be accepted as official records.
And the only other problem with that, paper hasn't changed. You still have paper. Paper can still be read. Think of it, 20, 30 years ago, it was VHS tapes. Then it went to DVDs. Now it's Blu-ray. Now you don't even have Blu-ray. You have digital files for all the movies. That's updating so fast that you're finding people who decided back in the 70s, 80s that everything's going to go to microfiche. they don't have the equipment to look at the files that they turned over to microfiche because the software and the technology updates, but paper hasn't updated. It's still paper.
I don't want to be dead horse, so I got to do a question. If we were to take a videotape of this town council and send it to a transcribing services,
More expensive.
forget,
Yeah.
let's say it wasn't.
Yeah.
Is that an acceptable alternative?
Well, if you're doing transcription, you're getting the minutes.
No, but is that an acceptable alternative to having someone sitting here?
Yes, that would be, because you're still getting the document, the paper document back. I actually, we did that in one community I worked in, because the budget committee, their recording secretary was ill, and we sent the tapes and got it back with this two things. One, they weren't quite as accurate, even though you're doing transcription, because you don't know the people in the room. And it's odd saying that,
Yeah.
but there is something to be said of knowing the people in the room and doing minutes. Because it's not you don't want a court transcription, you want minutes. And the second thing, it's much more expensive because you're sending somebody with the tape.
I'll stop.
You still have
Ellen.
a chance.
Hey, Ellen, you gonna remember this guy?
We tried, Ellen. We
Yeah.
tried to free you up for Saturdays. but- Anything else on the town council?
Okay. Next page, town administrator.
Got it.
Got it, thanks.
Got it.
The only, besides the salary,
Yeah, that salary's not the,
no, because it's shared, I'm actually shared between
The enterprise.
there you go.
off the regular budget
Yeah.
and the
Enterprise.
enterprise funds. The only other increase would be under dues and subscriptions, which is 7,500. Part of that is a contractual obligation between the council and the town administrator for membership in the ICMA. And also part of it's the dues for the New Hampshire Municipal Association that be increasing.
Still lower than our actuals.
Yeah.
Counselor Zink.
Is, with the contract with the new town administrator, the town council decided to implement a bonus program.
Yep.
Is that bonus program in this budget?
We have not discussed anything for the next fiscal year. That bonus program's for this current fiscal year.
Okay.
So it'd be this fiscal year.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Quick question.
Sure.
A little tongue in cheek, but the town administrator advertising, are you going somewhere?
No, no, we take every time you guys have an ordinance,
Yeah.
we need to post
okay,
it.
yeah.
So
Thanks.
that's where it is.
It's not tourist bureaus.
No. And
Equipment maintenance, the copier and stuff.
that's copier, and anytime something may break, that it's sort of, the first two budgets, I hate to put it this way, are sort of catch-alls for, you don't know, if something breaks somewhere, we throw it in there, or you guys, or we say, oh, we need to do this. Those two budgets kind of catch it.
Printing and publishing.
Yes.
Was that down last year because we went to electronic packets?
I would actually have to check, usually, I'm assuming printing and publishing may be the town reports.
Okay. Where is the printing for our
I don't,
packets?
we don't separate that out, that's just copying,
Okay.
so it's just a,
I mean, I would think that we recognize substantial savings in paper.
probably
that we're not
general
getting 200
supplies.
pages every.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if that's, anyway, that's recognized in the budget.
no, it's not. And town reports is something I would want to look at again. Most communities you're hearing are chopping that down further and further because people just aren't taking them.
That's unfortunate.
But you also can get them online digitally, so.
Counselor Zink.
One of our objectives this year, one of the council objectives is improving our communications with the community. And it's another one of those, just like roads, and that gets thrown under the proverbial bus. And I don't know what you've budgeted for communications, but it's clear to me and many people in the community, we need to do a much better job than we're doing. And I'd hate to see that objective blocked because we haven't funded it.
I think we'd be able to find funds to do it. I mean, if not the first, if we're not right away doing mailings. We'll try to do community newsletters another way. But even the community newsletter for mailing itself usually runs about $8,000 to $10,000 a year. So I think that's something, if we get to that point and we determine that's the way we want to go, that we could find that in this, and with some of the printing, we could look at savings there. So I'd try to finagle it that way. I mean, as you can see, my first thing I want to do is try to do it digitally. I don't know if any of you were signed up for the town email lists, but I'm going to be working with the director of IT to probably switch over to a different software provider so we can have more graphics and more information to be able to go out, including try to get set up that every agenda goes out. If you want to subscribe to it, you can get every town council agenda or every set of minutes. Just the current software is a little difficult to do those kind of things. And if you're a subscriber during the storms, I think every 5 hours or so I sent out an update via email, and plus Twitter and Facebook. So we're going to look at every way to do the communications.
Thanks.
Any other questions on town administrator's budget?
Next would be finance. Next page. Down.
Coming up?
You want me to go?
Yeah.
As he's coming up, one last one on the administrator's budget, and I know I brought it up already, but one of the reasons we went to computers is because the argument was we would see savings in printing.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I know you weren't.
Yeah,
there
I'll
that
find
time, I
out
know.
what was.
But, I mean, I would think that given the volume of paper we saw printed,
Yep.
there's some savings happening somewhere, and I'd like to see it reflected in the budget.
Okay.
I should say it this way. I'd like to see it
Yeah.
reflected in the budget. I'm only one counselor up here. And
I'm not sure when you switched.
a year
So
ago,
we-
maybe?
Say we may not have the whole figures yet to see.
Yeah, it's just that there's somewhere in here that we should be accounting for less paper, because there's a ton, probably even literally a ton of paper that was being produced
Okay.
for our packets over the course of a year.
And people's time, that
to
was
do
the
all
other
that.
thing. I mean, we were assured.
Time is still there, because instead of hitting print, when you got the copy, you're hitting scan. So you're still in.
Right, but they were making multiple packages, and they
Right.
said all that could go away, and.
Right, but you're still, that's all automated. When you get the packets, you're just hitting it, and it's gonna staple it for you, or hole punch it for you. Now you're just hitting a different button, it's hitting scan, and we have to do tech, on the tech end, to prepare it for your packets, so.
Yeah, I mean, even if the time, if there's some savings, it's going, it's opportunity cost that's going to other labor. I know we're not cutting positions,
Yep, no.
obviously. But there's got to be materials we're saving. And we shouldn't be budgeting for the same amount that we did the year
But-
before, because the last budget cycle, we were still on paper.
Well, that's what I'd have to see is
Where that fell.
when that, or are we saving money, or are we just not going over the budget?
It's a question that
Yeah,
I think
I have to find
deserves
out.
asking.
Yep.
All right, Matt.
All right, the budget that I had proposed is going to be almost a 2.25% decrease over the prior year. Really, the only big notable item that I had put in there was a $5,000 capital item to reorganize the office. However, the town administrator cut that out, and now it's just over a 4.5% decrease over the prior year. So in the 2013 budget, we're at $219,607. We're now proposing a $209,685 budget.
One area that you should be aware of is the change in 2 part-time positions to 1 full-time position. It is actually going to save us money and give us more productivity to do that. Before we had 1 for payroll, and I would ask that if we're going to discuss if you have personnel questions,
Yes.
that we enter into non-public session.
Okay.
Both of you off.
Can I just, how much savings? I think it's important for the people to know. It was about $4,400. Okay, that's very good.
44, tell me if I can't ask this question in
Yep.
public session. Is there a saving in the benefits line too?
That includes the benefit, the additional benefits,
Yeah.
so yes, it is including the benefits of $4,400. Yes, oh, sorry.
The comment regarding personnel, explain that to me again, what your concern is?
If you're going to ask the individuals what's going to happen with staffing, we need to go into non-public session. If you're asking me numbers, I can tell you the numbers.
It almost doesn't answer my question. I'm going to ask the question, then you
And
can
I'll say yay and nay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. The proposed budget for the finance director goes out ad infinitum to $80,000 a year. Does that move ahead regardless of what decision you make relative to full or temporary positions?
If you're asking finance director?
Yeah.
As of now, my intention would be to have a finance director as an employee on sometime during the spring
Of this year?
of this year.
And the budget effect would be,
I would have to live with the budget that I'm asking.
yeah,
for.
okay, all right, okay.
That begs the question. Will $80,000
Cover it.
cover the caliber of individual that we think is required to run the finances of this town?
And the benefits.
Benefits would be under the benefit line. That doesn't fall under here. That would be just salary. I think you could, yes. I mean,
And we have we have that position's benefits in our human resources line,
yes,
even though right now we are not paying benefits?
yes, we have that estimated as a family plan.
Okay.
I do the worst-case scenario.
Families are the worst case
Sorry.
scenario.
For the budget,
Don't
yes.
tell my girlfriend.
I was gonna say, don't tell my.
Well, actually, do tell her that.
Those are numbers.
We're both got an issue, yeah. Mine's family lives in town.
Any other questions on finance? Counselor Carmichael.
Are you're not looking to hire anybody else than these two part-timers you put into one position?
Correct,
And you're saying that's saving us money?
yes,
I'll take your word for it.
yes. Trust me, I would run the numbers. I mean,
Does that mean that you're saying the spring, and you haven't made a decision yet? So at least we have Matt until this spring, probably, until
Yeah.
you...
I want to get through the budget process and plus to bring somebody on board, we need to advertise, we need to interview, we need to
Don't like it here.
background check, so,
Oh, I like it here.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But part of we need to have some sort of definite answer of what we're going to be doing, and,
Yes.
with Matt's an interim.
Right.
Interim, sometimes you want to get rid of the interim title and make sure you have a definitive team, so. And part of it's also my learning curve to see where we are, what we
Right.
need,
Mhm.
and what we advertise for.
And we're also, again, one of the objectives, larger objectives, remains trying to see what the town and the school can do
Mhm.
together for MIS and finance and
Right.
so forth, so.
Steve, just a quick note. So
Sure.
just shortly, with the code enforcer, there was a saving of $5,000.
Yep.
So we just saved by combining, or one full-time, that's 44. So that's close to 10, well, it's, that's 10,000. That's the direction I think we all should aim to go for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, some people say it's 10,000, but it's 10,000. And
Yeah.
it's, like I said, the right direction. So I think that's great.
And that's why I do that when, anytime we have personnel changes, is one, review what their positions are. Is it something you can combine with somebody else? Is it something that doesn't need to be full-time any longer? It could be part-time, or it could be contracted. I can tell you the council, which we'll be having in a few pages, but on your agenda for Wednesday night is to contract a position that used to be an employee. So there'll be a saving money.
Thank you. And we like having you around, Matt.
Thank you.
Well, let's not get crazy now.
Any other questions for finance? Sorry. taking your job.
Yeah, man.
It's just a long
I have a
meeting.
question, no, I do have a question now. The end of year actuals in this packet are
Yes.
different than the end of year actuals in this packet for finance.
Could have probably given you,
Does one have a line that, I mean, I didn't go line by line to figure it out, but.
year-end actuals, 207,774. 206. I'm wondering if there was a change. And
There you go, 2012 actuals, $5,000 for the treasurer, $900 for the trustee of the trust funds, adds up to $5,000.
Yeah. There's a formula error on,
Oh.
now I need to look at I'd ask for a quick recess.
To look at,
I need to talk to the finance director.
okay, we'll take a 5-minute
Thank you.
recess.
Matt?